Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine in the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish on Northwest, Wayne England and special guest co-host. Not a stranger to the studio by any means, Dave Calhoun.
How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. Really glad you picked up the phone and said, yeah, I'll come give you a hand. Tommy had a last minute cancellation, so guess what? Number one go-to other than Barnum. Yeah.
No, it was good timing. I want lots to talk about, so much with
as
fishing
always.
And rods and all this.
Yeah.
So I actually have some good stuff to share.
That thing sitting right next to you is a gem. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but happy to be here. Once again, live program here, 6 p.m. Thursday evening. You are joining us live, and we are going to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time here. So we got plenty to get through. Yes, football kicks off tonight. But there's so many people frustrated with the NFL. I think our viewership will be just fine.
Well, yeah, because it's not the Packers playing, so who cares?
Oh, right. Yeah. Because if the Packers were playing, I would have to cancel the show.
I may not have been able to make it.
Priorities, man.
Yep.
So, hey, I want to remind everybody, Fish on Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington, and of course, our good buddies over there at Defiance Marine, located in Bremerton, the manufacturers of Arima, Defiance, and of course, the Allied Series. The Raiders sold as of this last week, and I am extremely happy as we sat down yesterday. Actually drove back out there yesterday and started making the check marks on the pricing sheet and adding it all up to put that 21-foot 2021 Allied Mustang all together. It's going to be hitting the water after January, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Well, yeah, it's that bittersweet. You're selling a boat, but you're getting another one. So.
Yes, yeah. So I'm without power boat, but I have the drift boat to get me through the fall and winter, which is just fine. And we got buddies who have boats that we can jump on the Soul with if I need to, so that'll work. But lots to get out and do. We have a number of fisheries to cover of things just even this weekend, Dave. We got tons of stuff going on that folks are definitely going to want to take advantage of. That being said, we also have, obviously, unless you're living in a cave or under a rock, we got a lot of smoke out there. We got a lot of fires. Work has been extremely busy. Big shout out to all the first responders, firefighters, medics, police, everybody in emergency services dealing with this. Levels of evacuations, unprecedented fires like we've never seen here on the west side. Pretty stressful times for a lot of folks. And so, that being said, we try to, make sure we do everything we can to keep this going each and every week, get us through these low times and give persons an opportunity to tune in and unplug. So that's exactly what we're going to do tonight as we cover a lot of these fisheries and stuff. Big weather change potentially coming in tomorrow, though. We have a big shift in the smoke from the emergency services providers and information that's out there via social media and other news outlets. We have a southwest wind push coming up, which is going to bring a lot of that Oregon and California smoke into this greater Puget Sound area and beyond. So, be advised that if you are compromised with respiratory issues, this is serious, folks. This is nothing to mess around with, and we could have significant visual impairment simply by how thick the smoke's going to be.
But doesn't it just figure this weekend set up for sturgeon, salmon, all these things are just finally starting to pop. And then we've got this cloud of smoke that comes in and blows us out.
Really hoping it blows and just keeps on blowing and gets on out of here and clears out. We definitely need cooler temps, and above all, which we aren't going to get for some time, we need some doggone rain to really start quelling these fires. So lots of misinformation out there via social media. Don't be a false rumor chaser. Just look for the factual stuff that's getting put out there, and try not to share that non-proven stuff. We don't need copycat artists out there torching stuff off and doing evil on the parts of all of us. So with that, let's talk about some fishing. Just keep the firefighters and all emergency responders in your thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely.
And pray for those families that are being displaced and losing everything. They're going to need some help to get through this. So on a lighter side, things to look forward to. Westport, we have one more day or opportunity now for Areas 1 and 2. They've added Westport based on numbers and the way the season has gone for deep water halibut opportunity. We put out last week, we showed, and I actually re-released it today. A lot of folks jumped on and viewed it as well. Tommy's outing a few weeks ago into Westport for halibut, and it was phenomenal. A couple of fish in the 70-pound range, perfect size, great eaters. You start getting over that 100-pound range. Those are great fish for pictures, but flavor is everything when it comes to halibut. So that 50 to 70-pounder range, man, great size fish, fantastic flavor, and once again, you have tomorrow to get out there. Go to Areas 1 and, my mic's cutting out, 1 and 2. September 11th is a great day to go chase those halibut and get another opportunity on there. So I think after that, we're going to be real close on the quota. They'll reevaluate, but I think we're going to be real close on that deep water opportunity. So moving along through the weekend, as we talked about before the show, we got some sturgeon opportunity on not just the Columbia, but also the Cowlitz River. We have 2-day sturgeon opportunity, which is September 12th, Saturday, and the following Saturday, the 19th.
Correct.
You're going to have some keeper. You're going to have retention sturgeon opportunity. That's within a slot limit. But the thing is here, guys, we get an opportunity on some white sturgeon that only comes around so often. And when the numbers are there and they feel like there's ample fish around to be had, those that have those programs dialed will go out and get their keepers. You may have to weed through a handful of them.
Oh, darn. I caught a big one. Darn it. I
got to let another one go. But what the heck, man? You get to fight a handful of fish and put one in the freezer.
Well, and this Saturday, for people in the Columbia River Zone in Southwest Washington and Oregon, it's not only the sturgeon retention, but it's the first time that I can remember in quite a while where we'll have salmon retention and sturgeon retention for the same day.
Yeah.
So you get your morning troll out, get your salmon, go park in your favorite spot in the afternoon, get your sturgeon. I mean,
work that tide.
It's going to be awesome. So that's a great fishery for us to jump on right now and get out Saturday specifically, but also Friday, Saturday, and Sunday being open for Coho and Chinook. Buoy 10, you can get one of each. So one Chinook and one Coho.
You got 2 fish limit.
At Buoy 10 for the 3 days. And then above, you can catch either a Coho or a Chinook, just one salmon.
Hatchery fish,
so there again, I mean, it's the best opportunity we've had in a long time. The numbers over Bonneville have been great. So people that are fishing around, up above there, below there, all good. So, I mean, now's the time to go.
The entire Columbia will be once again open this weekend.
Yes.
And last weekend it was a 2-day. Now you have 3 days. And as you mentioned, the Buoy 10 area, we have 2 fish limit, 1 and 1, or you can keep 2 Coho. But the fact is you can still keep a Chinook down there. There's still fresh fish coming in. They're getting nice size this time of year rolling out of the ocean, right?
The reports have been really good from the guys that have been fishing just the Coho out there.
Yeah.
They've been doing really good. They're saying, hey, get down here. We're getting morning limits. We're done before the water
and
gets
really nice size fish.
Absolutely. And don't forget, if we're talking about Buoy 10, wear your life vests. Every year there's a reminder of how things can go badly. And, there's no reason for it. Just wear those things. They weigh nothing. They
don't get in your way when you're fishing.
They don't. The worst thing that ever happened to me wearing one was I got one caught on a crab pot one time and it popped one on me, and that wakes you up. But I'd rather have it
inflate on the boat deck.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, it's nice to know it works. Yeah, well, that guy that also checks to make sure that it's a green light on your little sensor thing. Yeah. Because there's people that have had those vests and they sit there for 3-4 years.
They expire.
Hot and cold and everything else, and they're not working. So there's no point in doing that.
You find yourself in the the water, ripping the cord, nothing happens.
Yeah, and you're not going to have time to auto-inflate it. There's a whole other one there. But so be careful if you're especially a buoy 10. But anywhere on the Columbia, I feel like people don't really respect the river.
Yeah.
And they don't wear them. And 9 times out of 10, I'll see people in boats going by and no one's got them on. If you look at most of my pictures when I'm holding a fish,
you always
I got the same vest on. Yeah, it's not a fashion statement.
No.
I really love my life. I've worked really hard.
Always looks good.
Well, it's my colors. It's my black and green.
Right,
but that's, yeah.
So lots of opportunity. Later on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the Coho Derbies that we still have opportunity on. So, this Saturday, 12 and the following weekend, 9 and 19 and 20, we have some Coho Derbies in Puget Sound, the Edmonds and the Everett. And we'll be talking with Karsten McIntosh, who's the North Marine Trade Association's communications manager. And we're going to actually break it down, talk about how COVID has impacted the Derbies this season. Okay, a lot of them were canceled, but going into the final leg of the tour, so to speak, as we wind it down for this summer, we do have opportunity on 2 Coho Derbies. So this Saturday, along with fishing Coho and Puget Sound, area 9 and 10, you have sturgeon opportunity, as you mentioned. You have Chinook opportunity on the entire Columbia. We'll talk with Aaron Peterson later on the show about that upper to mid Columbia Chinook opportunity that's going on. You and I, for the last several years, have taken advantage of that just about this time of year, mid-September, just before elk opens. We're over there at Fish Camp. And this year, Fish Camp was canceled early simply because of COVID. And now, even if it was going, it would be questionable, again, with the amount of fires and the smoke. And
we had that a couple years ago with the Eagle Creek fire.
Correct.
Where the same thing happened. We actually powered through it. The wind cooperated, and we were able to put it together.
Right.
But yeah, it takes so long to put something like that together. And it wasn't going to happen. And so instead of trying to, put it together last minute.
We pulled it off last year, but getting over there, it dumped. We had so much rain mid-September last year, which was great as we rolled into the beginning of October when some of these coastal rivers started opening for fall Chinook on a tributary or terminal areas. That rain timing is ideal. I love that mid-September rain to get that fresh water coming and draw them fish into those rivers. Things really start happening. But we got no rain in the forecast for a bit of time here. If you do have a little bit at some showers, it's not going to be enough accumulation to change our river levels by any regard. Hopefully that'll change, but on the long stretch here, I don't see it. So if Fish Camp was happening, yes, we would be there this next week, and yes, that mid stretch in the Columbia would be fishing very well. Yeah, the old spin fish. I got a couple of those.
I'll tell you what. So we'll get into
this.
I want to talk about this, but yeah, these have been very, very helpful for what I like to do.
A couple of things going on secondary to those fires. Department of Natural Resources has closed all the lands managed in the eastern Washington side of our state to recreation because of high fire danger. So the gates are closed. The access to DNR land is all shut down, especially on the east side. Potentially some of it here on the west side and the Cascades and whatnot as well, wherever we have access, simply because of the fires. I think it's the right call to make. Things are too unstable out there, and additional activity in the woods could, perpetuate additional unnecessary fires. It's a tough decision to make. We've had closures due to other things. Our fantastic governor early on with the COVID shut everything down the state.
I think we should just shut down 2020. Let's just
close it out.
Say, you know what, do over.
What if we just change the date? What if 2020 just ends October 31st on Halloween and we start 2021?
How about
get out? We're bowing out early.
How about making Halloween the last Saturday in October? I think a lot of people would get behind me on this one.
I think that would work too. So with that, because of the historic fire. So Public Lands Commissioner Hilary Franz has declared that it's too dangerous. We got a lot of smoke. Again, I already mentioned we got a lot more smoke coming in to our region here starting this evening. And over there, they continue to expect higher winds than normal through the weekend potentially. So the start on this is it was going to be closed through Friday. Based on weather, fire conditions, and where the fires are going, we'll have to wait and see. It's a moving target. They could end up having that DNR land closed on the east side for better part of through the weekend, maybe into next week, depending again on weather and fire location. We'll just have to wait and see. Yes, it's going to affect hunters' access into the woods and opportunity on your early hunts, but safety first, I guess, in this regard. And let's face it. Yeah, we want to go hunting. Might have to go to a different location or find other land to use. We have a lot of people suffering right now. So all of us might take a little bit of disruption in what we want to go do, but let's think about the big picture on things here. So, all right, with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. I'm gonna change my microphone first of all, and secondary to that, Dave is in the house. We're going to get caught up on Northwest Rods and everything he has going on there. And fishing, apostrophe, the Northwest. He's out busily fishing with a lot of the folks we both know in industry and hold in high regard. And so you are out beating the trail and getting in boats and having fun. I get to sit here anchored down every week. So
someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I know. But you got a great line of some new rod ideas coming out, and some things are happening there at Northwest Rod. So we will jump out for a quick 1 minute break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right here. Fish on North.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Okay, that should work. Welcome back, Fish on Northwest. In studio here, Dwayne England, and special guest co-host Dave, the man Calhoun, Northwest Fishing Rods, Northwest Rods. So last year you relocated, got your big shop opened up down there, and things are cruising along pretty good for you. I mean,
yeah, there's been so much stuff. So that building was so necessary. I was so cramped in the old space,
right?
And so having room to really spread out and get to some of the stuff that's been just sitting in boxes, sitting in crates for a while. And I'm actually groundbreaking. We start next week on the new building. So we didn't talk about this, but the new building is starting. We are groundbreaking, I think, the Sunday the 20th.
Yeah.
And so that's where, and basically it's going to be the same type of a building, same idea, just on my own property, which is just down the street.
On the hill, right?
Absolutely.
Will you have store frontage somewhere else, or are you going to do everything?
Keep them both.
Oh, you are going to keep the other building?
I need the one building for production.
Right.
And then the other building for hopefully just a showroom. I mean, being a smaller company like the way I'm set up, it's factory direct.
Yeah.
So the idea is that I don't want to have to give away profits to larger companies like the sporting goods stores, where I want to have kind of that one-on-one relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I'm still small enough to where I can keep in touch with people, and they can tell me what they want. I want a twitch and jig rod, but it has to be 6 foot because of my boat locker, whatever the reason.
Sure.
And as much as I really am trying to get away from customs, if they want enough of them and it's a good idea, I'll build a bunch of them.
Sure.
And I always, when I do that, I find somebody that wants that type of thing. Right. So we're expanding like crazy. The market is really just, it's getting weird right now, which is good for me, but it's
weird in the sense that you're going to be almost out there on an island of your own doing everything here in the United States.
Absolutely. So, we could play a game where if you named a company that you thought was maybe all American and it wasn't, there's only a few of us left.
Yeah.
And, being that most of these companies go offshore, Lamiglass, for example, they just announced that they're moving to Mexico, their production. They've got a shop in Tijuana they're opening, and they just announced it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, that's going to put a big hole in the market for people that want American-made rods.
Yeah.
It's unclear what they're going to make in Woodland anymore.
Sure.
But we know that they've imported stuff from China, and now they're going to Mexico, which I think is actually a good move for them. Most of their business is import stuff. So that's a business decision for them. But now I've got to be ready to take up the slack that is created by people that want to stay American-made rods. And
I've been led to believe they will obviously still have some of their production. They're out of Woodland, which that's their staple, recognized building, right? I mean, that's kind of the home base of them forever here in the Northwest. But it just shows you at that corporate level, at that size of production. I mean, think about all the rod companies in the Northwest that have come and gone, and they're one that's somehow over the test of time, up and down and highs and lows and whatever, they're still hanging in there. But it is amazing when we look back historically how many rod companies have come and gone.
And luckily, I can come in at the end and I can just, pick what I want from either employees or just products or parts that are laying around. But the one thing I don't change is the blanks. So I build my own blanks. They're built in Woodland. Yep. They are American made, so, and not only that, but local, right? So I can go down and produce something like my new kokanee rod, which we'll talk about a little bit. But I can design something that the guys that are fishing Merwin say, hey, I want this rod, but I want it to be, this action. I need it to have backbone, and I need it to be this, and they tell me what they want, and I go in and produce that blank, and then within 2 weeks have a finished rod that they're out fishing. Nobody else can do that. And
so that rod right there, which is amazing, by the way. If you said, hey, Dwayne, take 3 or 4 of these and go fishing right for the season, and I came back and said, hey, I want to use this rod for Baker Lake sockeye, but from the handle, the top end of the handle to the second guide, I need more backbone in that rod. Right. You could kind of retool and respindle and design a blank that's going to perform in that manner for me, so I could use it for like a heavier troll.
Absolutely, and I have, for that example, I have done that. Yeah. So for the guys that were fishing Wenatchee and Lake Wenatchee and those larger, those 4 or 5 pounds, sometimes bigger sockeye, this is fun, but it's not the best rod for that. It's great for making small kokanee seem bigger, and it keeps those hooks in, which we're always trying to make our fish bigger. But, like when we go up to Rife Lake, that's a fishery. I was just up there last week camping, and that's a fishery that is awesome, but they've got like triploid trout, and that's great, that's fun. But if you can get into those landlocked coho, then you're really going to be having fun with a rod like this. Sure. But yeah, someone could say, oh, I want this rod so I can put more material down in the butt, or I can lighten it up and make it even more noodle for like panfish or something like that. Oh yeah, right. But this is designed specifically for the kokanee guys. What I did was I kind of stepped it up. This is as fancy and as amazing as a kokanee rod that I can build. Right. We're calling it the glow stick. Okay. It kind of looks like the old skate world glow sticks that we used to crack open.
It's pretty badass looking.
It's bright. You're not going to miss a bite.
No.
Right?
You'll see that thing moving for sure.
And so, carbon fiber grips, which aren't really necessary. This is a cosmetic thing. Sure. It's not really a a sensitivity, or this is going to catch more fish because of the handle. It's really not about that. It's about making the lightest, most awesome
It's extremely
rod.
Light.
Oh yeah, it weighs nothing.
It is unbelievably light. And but just even in your hand, it feels great. That grip on that handle is comfortable.
Well, it's textured, so it's not slippery. Even if you've got some scent or gloves on or whatever, it's grippy. It's as durable as you can make a handle, and you just foam with a carbon fiber sleeve that's cooked on there, and it's been great. So I'm making a run of these. The glow sticks will be available, let's say probably in the next month or so. So for the tail end of the kokanee fisheries, it gets into colder weather and stuff, and Sportsman Show. That's we talked a little bit about that.
Sportsman Show.
If we can make that happen,
we can make it happen.
Yeah, that's really where these things shine, and building rods for other markets that if you just build salmon steelhead rods, it's kind of like building a gun just for buffalo, and then there's no buffalo. That would be dumb, right? So building stuff for walleye right now. Walleye is the fastest growing fishery. Kokanee has been just exploding.
Where are you at on downrigger rods? Have you landed somewhere where you were good on a downrigger rod?
Are you talking about for salmon or for kokanee? This is also for
correct,
both.
for salmon. Puget Sound fisheries, downrigger fisheries for salmon. 9.5, 10.5 foot rod. Load them up in a downrigger, not too brittle. It's designed to be durable and they hold up in a downrigger. The handle is durable enough to have that constant pressure on that bottom side of that.
Well, that's handle. Where I switch off to a different handle. So that's where the graphite tube handles come in. They will take all the abuse where cork won't. Where these handles are great for rods that you're holding in your hand or for a kokanee rod, but they don't like side impact of, let's say, a rod holder that's a sharp edge. And you learn that by doing it, screwing it up and going, no, I'm not going to do that again. And so you just move on and you live and learn, and that's kind of how rod building works. But the blanks that I'm using for downrigger fishing, that's my Scorpion blank. So the one that I use for Pro Trolls 360s, that whip, the way that action, that 9-foot one-piece rod I have, hands down the best rod I've ever made. I'm almost sold out of them again. I'm doing a whole nother run of them. But that in the downrigger, it just has to be strong enough to pick it out of the clip. Graphite rods don't like shock.
Correct.
So if you don't have your lock set just right, and you're sitting there trying to pull it out of your clip, you're going to snap your rods and break your tip sections most often.
That Scorpion, the model, is a little more forgiving in the type of glass you put together to build that rod?
It's as strong a rod as I can build. I mean, I've got guys that sturgeon fish with them, with the 9-foot one piece. So they go out and pro troll.
Sure.
And then, because I can throw quite a bit of weight.
Do you make that into a 10.5 two-piece then?
Yep, same idea. That's the herring rod. It's got a really chewy tip, which is what you want on a downrigger, so that way those fish don't feel the pressure of the rod.
Does that cross over as a bait rod then for, say, your buoy 10 or your pro troll fisheries throughout the Columbia?
Yes. It's a better herring rod than a pro troll rod. That's what, just the 10-6, that chewy tip.
Yep.
It's chewy, and so it doesn't have the same recoil. It's a slower action than like the 9-footer.
Gotcha.
So I have guys that have their 9-foot Scorpions with their pro trolls on, and then they have their 10-6s with their fish flash and herring, or running the super bait, or not super baits, but the spin fish and their 360 flashers. But that's on the Scorpion 9-footer. You can run 10-6s, and will it do it? Yes. But if I have a 9-footer and a 10-6 on the boat, they're acting different.
Sure.
You'll get one tuned where the 9-footer's doing the whip, and the 10-6 seems to be just kind of a little bit slower.
Right.
And so that's where having matching rods and all that gear matters.
For that 10.5-foot rod, though, I mean, Puget Sound Fishery clipped that thing into a downrigger. You know, all the pressure is on that post, following the downrigger clip. That rod is just loaded, sitting there, right, waiting for it to go off. And as you said, the durability, not the fragility, to pop it out of the clip without shattering a brittle blank, right?
Yeah, because you get the guys that just reach for the sky. I mean, they'll grab a hold of there and just try to rip it out of that clip, because they know if they don't, and it's not pulling out of that clip, that there's a good chance they're going to lose that fish.
One thing, one of the favorite things to do this time of year is obviously, and we advocate it a lot, that people should be doing this because it's so much fun, but, bobber and egg fishing for Chinook in the rivers. 10.5-foot rod, 10 to 20 line range on that, very, very common rod to use. A lot of manufacturers have built that rod of all different lengths. What I find is the variance is in the length of the butt handle from your reel seat down to where that rod's resting against your forearm. Some of these are built, man, that thing is just, it's a short bottom end of that butt. That reel seat is either set too far back, or, I like to see that float rod where that thing is hitting you almost just above the elbow, just so you got that extra durability when you reel down and, set that hook or fight that fish. Is that common for you to align that rod so that you have plenty of butt on that thing?
Well,
it's
absolutely.
Also for castability.
Well, yeah, I mean, standard on a casting rod, whether it's spinning or casting, is a 12-inch handle. And then you have your cap on the bottom and your reel seat. Well, I build smaller ones for twitch and jig rods. We talked a little bit about that. So, because I'm twitching it, it's like a bass rod.
Sure.
Well, the reason bass rod handles are 10 inches or shorter is because otherwise you'd be banging into yourself trying to whip them up and down, right? And for, bait casters, the closer my length of that handle is up into my arm, the more control I have over the rod using just one hand.
Right.
So the twitch and jig handles I make are shorter. Whereas if I'm making a float rod for salmon, whether it's a 12-inch or even longer in some of the spinning rods, that's going to be, and that's a carbon fiber rod versus the glass type materials that I use in the trolling rods.
Right.
Sensitivity, you're going to have a lot lighter, because in your hand, that makes a difference.
Oh, especially when you're twitching all day long. Yeah.
Exactly. So the new handles, I have 4 new handles. One of them will be launched here maybe before Sportsman Show.
Okay.
But they're being built right now, and they're either carbon fiber tube, solid tube, I have tapered tube, and then I've got the wrap one that I call a stinger handle.
So these will be a 1-piece 7-foot twitching rod?
7 foot to 7.9. And I make them in all different lengths, and I make a medium and a medium heavy.
Gotcha.
The medium heavy for the guys that, let's say, fish the hump tulips, and they're also twitching for Chinook, and that kind of thing. Because, these rods are designed for Coho, but they're a fast action. You got to have a fast action rod, because number one, we want control to be able to get up into the trees and cast it to where it needs to be. But also when they hit it, it's so explosive. You better start yarding that fish out, because he's already getting to the surface, he's already airborne, and you can't have a light rod. If you have a light rod, you're going to miss hook sets, and you're going to have a heck of a time getting them out of the trees.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff coming with Northwest Rods. Look Dave up on Facebook. You got your website?
Yeah, if you go to nwrods.com. So I've got roughly 30 or 40 models on the page, but I now have 600 different models of blanks and rods.
600.
I'm not going to make 600 because that would be stupid,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to go crazy building 4-piece fly rods and stuff. But yeah, so you can go on nwrods.com. Always check us on Facebook. I'll post when we have sales down in Kalama and the new shop and that type of thing.
And like you said, if you have some type of rod you've been thinking about, you just can't find it on a rod rack with, you know, some of the larger manufacturers, talk to you about it. You can possibly take that blank and customize it and build that rod for the person, depending on the size of their boat, can't fit it in their canopy, whatever it is, camping closet, you know, in their RV, whatever. Come talk to you and see what you can make for them. Also,
we touched a little bit about the fact that I'm groundbreaking on the new building.
Yes.
At some point, I'm going to have some kind of a fundraising rod sale exclusive for people that want to help support one of the few American-only local guys out there trying to make a living doing this. And so we'll be posting that on the internet, figuring out some kind of a limited edition rod where people can buy, and we'll have the hats just came in. Our buddy Derek over at Sterling, hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and kind of put a package together for everybody that kind of helps us get the new building built. So that's going to be a big deal.
Well, congrats on that. Looking forward to seeing a lot of good things coming out of Northwest Rods. Awesome. All right, buddy. Well, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We got a great segment lined up with Karsten McIntosh. Lots of things going on with the Northwest Fishing Derby Series. Keep you up to date on some changes coming about, but things to look forward to, definitely. Don't write it all off. We got plenty of fishing to do and lots of things to look forward to with those folks. So we'll jump out for a quick break. Come right back here on Fish on Northwest.
Coho, an outdoor emporium, is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Hey, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. New England Dave, Calhoun. Great stuff on that last little segment there, dude.
Thank you.
Really good info.
Lots of good stuff happening. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you.
I'm excited to fish some of these rods because I know you'll let me.
Well, so, when you're so excited, do you want to go fish or you want to build rods and you can't decide which one you. That's how you know you're doing something good, right?
Well, those downrigger rods are something to look forward to. And speaking of downrigger fishing and things to look forward to, Puget Sound, Karsten McIntosh, first time on the show, first time on the phone, and at some point hope to get you in studio here. Northwest Marine Trade Association Communications Manager. Thanks for taking the time to have a great discussion this afternoon, and thanks for taking the time this evening to jump on the show with us.
Most definitely. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you bet. So it's no secret that this COVID thing has hit everybody in every industry and everything relative to the outdoors, fishing, hunting, and whatnot. And so at different levels, of course. And you folks over there at Northwest Marine Trade Association and doing your due diligence each and every year, helping organize and keep the Northwest Fishing Derby Series up and running, along with the Seattle Boat Show and all the other things you are involved with. There's been significant changes to the Fishing Derby Series this year. A number of cancellations throughout the season, a few derbies here and there, but what I want to make sure we get the message out this evening and to help it along as we close out the season for actual recognized 2020 season, we still have two amazing and great opportunities for Coho Derbies coming up here. This Saturday, the 12th, the Edmonds Derby, and of course next weekend, the 19th and 20th, we have the Everett Coho Derby to look forward to. So let's, Carson, let's start off with the Edmonds Coho Derby. Talk a little bit about what folks can expect, some of the rules that are in play to pull this off, how and where folks will be weighing in their fish on this one-day derby, and just kind of how it all comes together.
Sounds good. Yeah, so this Saturday, September 12th, $30 tickets, which is actually the same price as the Everett Coho Derby a week later. $2,500 first place prize, $1,500 second place prize, $1,000 third place prize, and a $500 youth division first place. One thing that's different about this derby as opposed to next weekend's derby is this derby, the weigh-in is clean, gilled, and gutted. Oh. So what does that mean? That means all gills, guts, and the kidney right along the bloodline near the spine has to be removed.
Right.
Of course, it's up to derby judges to make sure that the fish are up to par on that. The difference for the following weekend is it's not clean, gilled, and gutted at the Everett Derby. I'll get to that information in a little bit here. But, yeah, so weigh-in is at, for Edmonds Derby this weekend, is at the Port of Edmonds right near the boat sling. And then it's also up at the Port of Everett as well, near Everett Bayside Marine. So folks can weigh in their fish in either location. The Derby is strictly areas 9 and 10. Right. And then one new change for this Derby this year is it's actually only hatchery fin clipped coho that you can weigh in. So this was done to protect the Snohomish coho stock that's under a rebuilding plan and not meeting escapement. So kudos to the Edmonds Derby for doing this. But yeah, so make sure that everybody knows that it's clean, gilled, and gutted, and you can only weigh in hatchery fish. Hatchery clipped coho at the Edmonds Derby.
Yeah, which is interesting because you're allowed to fish areas 9 and 10, and obviously with 10, we do have wild fish or adipose intact fish retention that you can do, but you can keep that large fish and think you have a derby winner only to find out when you show up, oh, hey, by the way, that's not gutted, which you need to do, and oh, it has an extra fin, so you actually can't weigh it in. So, just got to pay attention to these finite details on these rules to qualify your fish, that's for sure. So it's a good point that you brought that out.
Yeah. Don't be that guy that shows up with the winning fish and finds out that he's unable to weigh it in because it's wild. That would not be fun for anybody. So.
Well, and on the other side of that, too, as we will transition now talking about the Everett Derby next weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. Don't be the guy that shows up with your fish gutted and gilled and cleaned.
And loses by an ounce.
And lose by an ounce. So that would also be devastating, to say the least. So let's talk a little bit about that Everett Derby. Thankfully, you guys are still able to put that on. Largest, pretty much the largest derby annually as far as attendance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So it averages about 2,000 anglers every year. It's the Big One Derby. It's one of the biggest derbies on the West Coast, actually. We're pretty proud of it. And we're actually, me personally, I'm involved here in the Everett chapter that puts this on a PSA, so it's extra special for me. But we're really proud that that's kind of the culmination of the Derby series every year with 2,000 anglers in it, and it provides an awesome event. They always have a ton of prizes. And actually, I spoke with Dave Miller, the Derby chairman, today, and I quoted him, too many to list. So in addition to their first place, $5,000 prize, second, $2,500, third, $1,500, fourth, $1,000, and fifth, $500, they also have tons and tons of prizes. Right. When I was asking him what he had, he said they had everything from smokers to electric downriggers. Oh, wow. And that's actually another good point to bring up. The Edmonds Derby as well has prizes in addition to the cash prizes. Yeah. And what folks need to know here is because both of these events aren't having actual in-person award ceremonies, what folks will do is they'll actually pick up the prizes following the derbies. So for the Edmonds Derby, the prize pickup will be on this Sunday, September 13th, from 9 a.m. to noon, right there at the same spot at the Port of Edmonds. Okay. And then the Everett Derby, the pickup will be beginning the Monday following its Sunday end at Bayside Marine, right there at the Port of Everett waterfront.
Yep. So, And,
Yep.
you know, as per usual, there is a ton of prizes. And I mean, my wife walked away with a brand new, real nice crab pot last year on her 7-pound plus fish entry, you know, so I forget which place she got, but she was in the running, you know, so, you know, and something to kind of be excited about, to be honest, Carson, is the size of the coho this year going into it. I know for certain what won last year won't even be close to what will actually win these derbies this year. We got some big coho hitting the table.
Yes, I've been seeing that as well, and experienced it personally. There's some good sized fish out there right now, and it's pretty good fishing too. So I think our timing's good, and this weather, of course, is phenomenal. So I encourage folks to fish in both these derbies. You know, they both go to great places. Back to those clubs that help raise fish for us to catch later down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Among other things, you know, scholarships and youth camps, and actually the Everett Steel and Salmon Club, they also do carcass planting. So they'll get the carcasses from the hatchery, and then they go upriver and plant those to get those nutrients coming down the river for the next generation of fish. So
yeah, really,
definitely worth supporting these guys.
Really helps out and stimulates a lot of additional programs that are directly connected to the monies generated from these derbies. So it's all, you know, everybody wins in that regard. Let's talk a little bit about the you know, the culmination of these derbies towards the end of the year. Typically, we all find ourselves rallying around at the big awards giveaway in Everett, and everybody is holding on to their tickets and waiting to see who's going to win that boat. And we've put pictures up of the boat this evening that was up for this year. You guys have put an announcement out that the actual raffle and giveaway on that boat is going to be now next year. But all the derbies that you're able to complete this year, and for those that entered the derbies, they automatically qualify for that boat. And for the derbies that will hopefully go through next year, all of them on the calendar, let's keep our fingers crossed and we can get every one of them off and running. Those will also qualify you. So I guess, in example, if I am one who fishes the Edmonds and the Everett Coho Derby this year, and I do no other derbies but go ahead and enter into both of those Coho Derbies next year, I would have 4 entries in for that raffle drawing for that grand prize of that boat. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep. The Kingfisher 2025 Escape Hardtop with the Yamaha 200 and the 99. The thing's totally dialed in with shock seats, Scotty downriggers, Raymarine electronics, dual electronic stereo, Houdat tower, burn-a-win accessories. It's got everything.
Yeah, it does.
So I guess the list goes on. But yeah, so we'll be giving that away at the end of the Everett Coho Derby in 2021.
Right.
For folks that don't know, we had quite a decision to make on doing that. But after lots of deliberation and careful consideration, we decided to postpone the drawing for another year to do the right thing for our sponsors that are so gracious to sponsor that boat, and for those derbies that didn't get to happen this year. No, more than half of our 20 derbies in the series were not able to go on this year because of the event restrictions. So yeah, we feel strongly it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think you guys made the right call in that regard. As you said, that entire boat, Dave, is completely sponsored. Everything is sponsored. There's a lot of companies, corporations, persons backing this and the opportunity to put these derbies together and to award prizes as they do, and the amount of money that goes in and out. This is a huge deal. So, Carson, I think that's the exact right call you and committee had to come together and compromise on. And I'm pretty sure the majority of folks are good with it. I haven't talked to anybody that seems to be too terribly upset.
Most of the stuff gets canceled, so the fact that you're still actually doing it and that you're going to continue it and actually give it away, I mean, I think most people will be happy.
Yeah, there is some decent prize money. It's not the full top prize money that we're accustomed to on these derbies, but there is some ample prize money available. And I am hopeful. We aren't able to attend the Everett Derby this year. As I mentioned, it's our 30th anniversary, and Shing said no go this year. We're not fishing. We're going to go away for the weekend. But I am hopeful, Carson, that there are plenty of entrants in both of these derbies to really come out and continue to support the efforts you folks put on and others involved to give us opportunity on the water and to keep those fisheries going as you talked about. You guys do a fantastic job, and it's a great opportunity. As far as we know, the weather should be absolutely fantastic, and a good opportunity to go get some decent-sized fish.
Yeah. So go get your tickets. They're available online at EdmondsCohoDerby.com or EverettCohoDerby.com or at pretty much every fishing retailer you can imagine, from John Sporting Goods to Bayside Marine, Harbor Marine, Ted Sports Center, Triangle Tackle in Snohomish, Outdoor Emporium, Sportco, Three Rivers, Greg's Custom Rods, anywhere that sells fishing gear, we got tickets. So grab your tickets. And one other thing I wanted to mention, Dwayne, is the Everett Coho Derby. It's similar to Edmonds in that it's Area 9 and 10. It's also open to all the freshwater systems.
Correct.
In Kings, Skagit, and Snohomish County. So those folks fishing the river can also enter that derby.
Yeah, and as years past would show, that sometimes those fish coming out of any of those river systems can be some of our larger fish that are entered into the derby, impressively enough. So, good reminder.
Yeah, river fish. Yeah, river fish have won the Everett Coho Derby many times over the last few years. So,
very good point. Well, I appreciate you taking time, Karsten. It's good to catch up with you and get this info out there so folks know the efforts you folks are putting in, and the derbies are up and going. And for crying out loud, again, weather's going to be decent. Time to keep the boats on the water and pay your $30 per person and get out there and give it a go and go win a derby. So appreciate you bringing this all out tonight. Good talking to you.
Yep, and it all goes right back into salmon enhancement. So totally worth the right thing to do, folks.
All right, well, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for your time, Blake.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be a stranger. We got other events coming up that you guys are well involved with, and as we kind of roll that direction with sportsman shows and boat shows and stuff, I'm sure you and I will talk quite a bit more. So have a great evening.
Oh, yeah, I can talk that.
Absolutely. Have a good evening. We'll be in touch.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for all you do. Appreciate it.
All right,
bud.
Have a good night. All right, Karsten McIntosh. He is the communications manager in Northwest Marine Trade Association, and they're up against it, man. They got a lot of things going on relative to these derbies, and again, the Seattle Boat Show is one of their biggest events annually, and I mean that's still kind of they're working hard, and hopefully it goes off because that one is something everybody looks forward to, along with the sportsman shows we were talking about. They're working extremely hard to get the Puyallup and the Portland sportsman shows off the ground, and depending on where things land towards the end of winter. As we roll into 2021, we'll get a sense of if, in fact, these are going to go. We are all very hopeful that they are, and those that are involved in making it happen are doing their very best. So, okay, going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. Our good buddy Aaron Peterson will be on the phone. We got some fishing to talk about. We got some early bird hunting to talk about. Some waterfowl, of which you have a couple dogs that enjoy the waterfowl.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that too.
So anyway, quick jump out for a break. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us through it. We'll be back right here at Fish on Northwest. A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water. Welcome back, Fish Hunt Northwest, here in studio. Dwayne England, Dave Calhoun, Northwest Rods, once again.
Yep.
Good friend of ours is on the phone. We both fished with him time and time again, and guy's pretty much dialed.
Yeah.
No matter where he fishes and if he's shooting at birds, it just kind of gets it done. Aaron Peterson, Peterson's Northwest guide. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good. Another long grinding day in the hot sun for you up there in smoke-filled mid-Columbia.
Yep.
Yeah. You wearing a filter mask or anything? You got a fan on board? You got smoke evacuation going on? What's your program?
No, we're the boat against Jay Inslee. We're free.
Perfect. So, hey, this is that time of year you like to kind of hang around that Deschutes area and other parts of the Columbia too, but as of late you've been up and around that Deschutes area, haven't you?
Yep. I just spent the last 8-9 days there.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people think that those fish get up in that mid-stretch or up to that upper side, they tend to start, dropping off in quality. Dave and I have experienced opportunity over there time and time again where, we boat some pretty nice fish over there, and folks can look at the pictures you've been posting up as of late, and you're getting some pretty nice fish. What do you think about the size and the quality of the fish this year? We think you got bigger fish up there?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Since the beginning of August, we've seen, I don't know if these are 5-year fish or what's going on, but this year it's just amazing, the quality and size of these fish.
Right.
Well, you know who the people that are saying that they're dark and no good, right? They're the locals that fish it every day and don't want the world coming up there and blowing it up. They don't want the west side coming over. Exactly.
Taking all their fish. Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I like sneaking up the river another 30 miles. Everybody kind of overlooks it.
Right. Yeah. So historically, and even in your boat with you, we have fished a couple different techniques out there. What's kind of getting it done? Are you having to jump back and forth between kind of the pro troll spinner fishery, or are you rolling any bait up there, or are you actually hover fishing? What's kind of getting it done day after day?
Well, I mean, obviously I prefer to hover fish. It's just fun to be no flasher and lead and setting the hook on your fish like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But to be 100% honest with you, not everybody can handle that little nibble, that little bite, that hook set. So I feel like covering the ground with pro trolls is I have a higher percentage in landing and catching rate. So we've been trolling.
I've always been amazed when you put a glob of eggs down there, suspended or hover fishing just slightly off the bottom. And I guess all the years of salmon fishing, even back in the days when we used to drift fish, like eggs and a corky, and feel those fish bite and just let them chew on it, and then they just hammer down. You set the hook when they turn and burn. Yep. Or over here, we're fishing the eggs under a float, and you just watch that float absolutely get freight trained and just disappear. Yep. And over there, you're hover fishing, and you just, sometimes it feels like just a little pea mouth just grabbing it, just a little peck on it. You can barely even feel them biting, and lo and behold, if you don't set the hook, you're not going to get fish. And if you just finally go, doggone it, I'm going to see what happens, and you set the hook, next thing you know, you're fighting a Chinook. I am always blown away by how light that bite can be over there.
Yeah, it's amazing how they can just kind of nudge it, mouth it, spit it out, test it, and then obviously you get the suicide fish once in a while. But
once in a while,
a lot of them will just kind of peck it in and out, and you miss that 1 second, you're done.
Yeah.
I found that water temp usually plays a lot to how the bite's going to be. The cooler the temp, it seems like a little more commitment on it. Whereas the little warmer it gets, then they're a little more hesitant, a little softer. And that's when the hardware bite gets really good. So maybe that morning bite is the hover fishing. You see what your people on your boat are able to handle. Or not, right? Yes. And then it's nice to just put out the old equalizers and the 360 flashers and basically limit your boat. So, I mean, but I think the temp is probably one of the biggest things with the bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hovering around 72 right now.
Oh, wow. Last year when we were over there for fish camp, I actually played around with a 1/2-ounce jig and was jig twitching off the bottom and hooked a Chinook. And he hammered it.
That's awesome.
So that's one thing, talking with Dave Ing, was hopeful to come back over there this year and actually play around, spend better part of a couple hours, twitching heavy jigs down there and see how many you could actually get to commit on it as a change, as a novel alternative, right?
Why not?
Yeah. The other thing I haven't seen somebody do is actually rig your gear to where you're kind of like hover fishing, but put that strike indicator out there. The ability to have a slip float, believe it or not, you could set that little Bomag egg stopper 30 feet up the line, right?
Yeah.
And literally drop it down and just right next to the boat, because we're fishing right off the side of the boat. Why couldn't you just have that float sitting there and watch that thing start bouncing, reel down and go and hammer down on it? But just some things to try a little different, just because there are a high percentage of people that cannot get a good hook set on that light bite of that Chinook in that situation.
Well, it's not only that. It was having the weight not be terminal in your gear, so that way when it is biting, it's not picking up that 1 or 2 ounce.
Right.
Trying to run the smallest weight you can, but keep your boat right on top of it.
Yep.
That means putting in reverse sometimes. Aaron knows. I mean, we really, over the past few years, getting that hover fishing tuned in. It's the guy running the boat dictates whether you're getting fish or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you getting sand shrimp over there? Are you using sand shrimp, or are you just relying on eggs?
Oh, we got the hookup.
It's always been kind of a first day sand shrimp, that's pretty good. A couple days into it, then it's like, well, we got these stinky sand shrimp, but you know what? Sometimes it doesn't matter.
Nope.
They hit them things. It's unbelievable. Let's talk a little bit about that troll fishery, the pearl troll. Let's talk actual setup, amount of weight that you're finding you're using, some of the go-to colors on the pearl trolls or what you stick with, and leader length on those spinners, and what size spinner blade.
No, that's a lot.
Well,
we got a whole show.
Hey, man, you just start, start at the rod tip and work your way down.
Where were you born?
Yeah. How old are you? Yeah.
If there's under 50 viewers, I'll tell you. If there's over 50 viewers, I won't.
Well, sorry, then you can't say anything.
No, there's 49. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's 49.
Yep, you're in luck.
No, honestly, that's a great question. Everybody kind of getting around away from the sounder says, should I be scoping out with lighter lead, getting away from the boat? Should I be running heavier lead and straight down on top of them? It's kind of, everybody has their own style there on the lead, I feel. But since I'm running 6 rods, I tend to go a little heavier, and the more crowded the fishery is, I tend to go heavier. It just keeps the gear underneath your boat and in the zone. But I've been running 4 12s and 10s, 14s, 12s, and 8s right in there. And my front rods are pretty close to the bottom. Middle rods are getting up off the bottom a little bit. My back rods are everywhere. If I feel like these fish are traveling and suspended, they're up. Using electronics. Are my front rods getting bit nonstop, and those back rods are going all the way down the mud.
Yeah.
So it's just fishing those contours. First light, are you up on the 20 line? Are there active fish up there? Are you working out to the 30 line, traveling fish? Did they come in and net, the area you like to start your troll at? You got to start with traveling fish. There's kind of a lot to it right now with some of the factors we're up against.
How do you decide if you're going with or against current?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I had to pick one way, it's trolling downhill.
Sure.
I mean, You want the shortest time to trick these fish instinctually. They're not there to eat. They're not, let's go eat some food today. We're on the bite. No, they're going to die. They're smelling where home is. Where am I spawning and tying?
Right.
So you got to trick them quick. It's instinctual bites.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And of course, I'm with you. I prefer the downhill troll as often as possible, or conditions allow you to do so. So
right.
You're going to transition here shortly out of this salmon fishing, get into your foul waterfowl hunting in the fall. That's what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
Yeah. So you guys, you hit that early goose opener, or at least some of your folks did, and it looked like it was pretty productive.
Man, this year was a great early season for everybody. I mean, I had great reports. We had some customers have great hunts. Yeah, the season's starting out. I'm really excited this year.
Real good. Have you been privy to what the numbers look like for duck forecast, or any geese numbers? Or
that's a great question. They decided, I don't know, when was that? March? I don't know. They tried to do that breeding population estimate thing and survey, and they canceled this year's. I don't know if it was COVID or what, most likely.
So. Yeah.
So a lot of numbers are going off like long-term data now and harvest reports from last year, and they're trying to put together numbers so we can hunt this year, obviously, the federal stuff and all that. But, I mean, we were up 12 18% on the 10-year average. Like last year, the year before, it's an upward trend with the snow geese. I know that every year.
Every year.
To the pintail and the ducks, it's kind of a roller coaster every year with.
Yeah.
So
those snow geese are starting to take a pretty good population stake on the east side now too. It's amazing.
Well, they're finding them in New Mexico. They're going hard. They're going hard.
We're definitely going to come up and shoot, as in guns and video.
We had an epic trip probably about 2 or 3 years ago where we went up to snow goose. Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to put together something, and I'll bring my dog up if we can do duck and all that. I'd love to come up and do that.
We'll definitely do that. So something to look forward to with you for sure. So you have any open seats from now until you're done fishing up there on that grind of the Columbia?
I think I have 1, maybe 2 days left in September, and October, no more fishing.
Okay. All right. They can find you at Peterson's Northwest on Facebook, or they can get you on your webpage as well. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, mister. Well, appreciate you taking a little time out this evening. I know you're tired. The days have been long, but rewarding, always rewarding.
Oh, yeah. I love it over here.
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to breathe too much smoke tomorrow. We got a little inversion happening that's going to lock us down in smoke central here for a couple days. So be safe out there and try to have a good time.
Thanks, guys. Good talking with you.
Aaron.
Have a good night. See ya.
All right.
Yeah, that reminded me of our trip that we did. That was epic up there, just goose hunting and hiding in the caskets and jumping up, and that was...
Oh, that's a good time.
Yeah.
So definitely things to look forward to with Aaron. He is dialed in, not just in his fishing. His scheduled operation on his bird hunts is nothing to sneeze at. If you are a waterfowler looking for a top-notch guide to get in either on some Canadian goose or even ducks, and or of course his snow goose or snow geese hunts go on for a pretty lengthy time through that season, and he does a lot of them, and they're very successful. It's something that you've wanted to take advantage of because that's a nice sized bird. Oh yeah, you're getting a big chunk of meat out of them buggers. So make sure you connect with him, give him a call, look him up on his Facebook page or PetersonsNorthwestGuide.com. They'll set you up and take care of you. All right, we're gonna jump out for a quick break. We come back. I think I'm gonna jump into the bait lab, dispel some myths relative to, is it bobber dogging? Are we vertical fishing? We're talking fall salmon, Chinook and Coho. There's a number of ways you can go after them with bait. Do you fish vertically, as we talked about a couple weeks ago? Is bobber dogging, does it really work for salmon? A lot of folks don't do it, and I am one to tell you, you are missing out. Drift fishing versus flossing, what's the difference? I have 4 different rods set up in there, 4 different riggings that we're going to get through because I keep getting these questions. And I want to make sure you guys understand exactly the difference on how these rods are rigged and how you fish them and how productive it can be and why. What conditions dictate, do I go vertical presentation or bobber dogging for Chinook and Coho? So we're going to jump into all that. Quick break. We come back. We'll be in the Bait Lab right here, Fish on Northwest. Allied boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Deep V 21-degree dead rise at the transom guarantees a smooth ride no matter the conditions. Allied offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Allied boats range from 19 to 32 foot in length, so no matter what type of heavy gauge boat you are looking for, we have it for you. All of our Corsair 21-foot and larger designs come standard with reverse chine that is welded inside and out with no extrusions below the waterline, so that you will never have to worry about corrosion problems down the road. Get out on the water today in a boat that you can trust and enjoy with Allied Boats. Contact us at Allied Boats today to learn much more about our incredible fishing machines.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Hey, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We are here in the bait lab for this week's how-to, presented by Max Lure. And with that, I want to just get right into this. We got a lot of information to cover here. As I mentioned, I got 4 different rods rigged here for various reasons. So real quick, as a reminder, a couple weeks ago, I went into detail and actually rigged from start to finish a vertical presentation, bobber and egg fishing for Chinook. One of my favorite things to do. And again, this is a 10.5 foot rod, 10 to 20. Got an ice-sized bait caster, level line reel on here. It's got a 22-pound drag, ideal for Chinook fishing, okay? So again, for this vertical presentation, let me just pull this out here. I'm running a top shot, if I can get that float down here. I'm running a top shot on top of my braid. And it's about, you know what, I stretched it out 3 arm lengths. That's 18 feet or so of 30 pound, at least 30 pound monofilament as my top shot on top of my braid. Anyway, vertical presentation, you know, 1 ounce float. I have my indicator cheater or corky on top of here so I can tell when my float maxes out. I run my 1 ounce float. I'm using an inline Bomac weight, 3/4 ounce weight, 5/8 to 3/4 ounce depending on how big a glob of eggs you're putting on there. And then I have my little midpoint inline sinker on my leader. Remember, you have to, in most regulations, keep 12 inches above your hook with your inline weight. This is a vertical presentation for me. The bait, ideally, is suspended a foot or 2 off the bottom once I get everything set and understand the depth of my the hole I'm fishing, and that is vertically traveling through the water column. The float is nice and straight up and down. It's not dragging or leaning in either direction because that would indicate we're dragging on the bottom, of which we don't want to do. Vertical presentation means suspended bait off the bottom, okay? So when do I use, well, I use that ideally if I'm fishing an area and I understand or have figured out the overall depth of the hole I'm fishing. If it's pretty consistent and I can set that stopper at 6 or 8 feet and I go through there drift after drift and it's not dragging bottom, and I know because I did hit bottom at some point, I'm merely a couple feet above the bottom and I'm doing these free drifts and everything is just flowing easily. There's no changes in the area I'm fishing. When I'm traveling, when I'm in the drift boat or I'm jumping around from hole to hole and I'm not sure, and or I know I'm fishing a drift that starts out at 4 feet, goes to 6 feet, drops down to 9 feet, goes along a ways, and then towards the tail out, it's going to come back up. I have a lot of different areas in that hole where those fish may tuck their nose into and rest, depending on the water seam and the current flow and all that. So by utilizing bobber dogging or float drifting, as I like to refer to it when I'm stationary, casting out and drifting through a hole, I like to use that presentation because the weight is always contacting the bottom and my presentation is always within a couple feet of the strike zone, and I'm not simply guessing by setting a stopper at 6 feet when I'm fishing a 9 or 10 foot hole and that bait constantly drifts 3 or 4 feet above the fish's head, never coming in close contact to where they're at because I'm just not aware of the actual changes in depth of my hole. I haven't rigged it to where I can actually figure out or find where those drop-offs are and how deep the water is. So before I get to my bobber dogging rig, I want to talk about a couple other things. So drift fishing back in the day is something, and a lot of you guys have heard me over the years talk about it. You know, drift fishing is something that still works, and you can drift fish for salmon. There's nothing wrong with it. I can utilize braided line on here as long as I have a breaking point in my braid. Try in all your fisheries never to leave braided line in the river. Monofilament will break, and over time, of course it takes years, but it will deteriorate and break down. Braid is in the river for a very long time. So I will rig my drift fishing rods with about 18 to 20 foot of monofilament on the top as a shock absorber and as a breaking point. I'll bring that down to a 2-way snap swivel that I hang my weight on. And even for drift fishing nowadays, I'm a lot of times simply using my stick leads. I have various sizes here, and or you can cut them in half. They're eyed at either end that you can clip onto your swivels. And you can get those and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 inch lengths of which indicates, you know, different weights that you'll utilize when drift fishing. And so you figure out which weight is appropriate, so you're just barely tapping bottom every so often to keep it down in contact in the drift, and you're drift fishing. And, you know, again, this is a 18 to 20 inch leader. I never go more than 24 inch leader at the most, especially with salmon. And, you know, for this, I have a corky on there to add buoyancy and color, and I have an egg loop in my egg. I simply put on a chunk of eggs, and I can drift fish that all day long in the water. And the contour of the bottom can go up and down, and as that lead bounces along the bottom, it's going to stay down along the bottom and keep my presentation down in where the fish are. Okay, you have to develop a knack for understanding if it's bottom tapping or if it's actually a fish starting to bite and take your presentation. Reel down your slack and learn to set the hook. It's a different art. It's almost a lost art at times. It's one that I still like to do on certain drifts where you know the fish are going to be tucked inside, and you can allow that presentation to swing towards the bottom end of your drift and just kind of line in there where those fish will be, and they'll come up and chew on it. And there's nothing like feeling a Chinook starting to bite onto that presentation to where you can reel down and get your slack out of the line and set the hook. It's all in the hand. You feel everything that you're doing. It's an exciting way to fish, and it's one that not many people do. That is essentially drift fishing. If I had more time, I'd go into more detail, but that is how you basically allow lead to bounce bottom with a short leader. Let the fish come to your offering, okay? You're not taking your offering to the fish. You are putting it out there, and those fish will come up, and they will choose to chew on your offering if you have a good presentation and the right kind of eggs. This, some people would refer to as drift fishing. This is a 10.5-foot rod with an 8-foot leader. I have a sliding weight fixed at the top of it. It's a 1/2 ounce cannonball. We have a couple corkies on here and some yarn. Some folks will use a single corky. Some folks will use just yarn. This is a flossing rig, okay? I talk to folks that will stand there at the river with this particular rig, and I'm like, did you get any? Yeah, we got a couple. How'd you get them? Well, we were drift fishing. Well, no, you're not actually drift fishing. You're flossing fish. This is the old adage of bringing the presentation to the fish, okay? This long leader enables your presentation to sweep down through a certain area. Fish swim with their mouths open as a part of their migration, their breathing. You allow the line to actually go through their mouth, and as the line comes around and pulls tight because of the weight, you're able to get your hook into the fish. Many fish are hooked in the opposing side of the head as they migrate upriver. Nothing wrong with it. It's legal if it's hooked forward of the gill plate. It's legal to land fish and retain fish that are hooked either in or around the mouth or at the gill plate, under the chin, what have you. But it's not a means of fishing where you're bringing the offering, the fish drawn to your offering. You're bringing the offering to the fish is the biggest difference. I'm not a 100% purist. I'd be lying if I said I've never flossed. If you have lived around here and grown up on the Puyallup River, this time of year it's so muddy brown. And on those pink years, you know, everybody's out there flossing, and it can be a lot of fun. You can hang out with a bunch of your buddies. You can catch humpies. You can catch coho. You can catch kings. Everybody's having a good time. This is something I would prefer definitely not to do when I have these options available and you have biting fish and you're truly fishing. You're presenting them with something that they're going to take, and that is the true essence of fishing. You're presenting them with a bait or attracting them somehow to your lure, and they're going to respond by meaningfully biting on what it is you're offering them. The other thing is, you know, we could joke about folks that are flossing and call them snaggers and whatnot. There's an art to it. Some guys are really good at it. Some guys are full-on just bona fide snaggers. That's what you are. You throw that out there, and at the end of every drift, you are swinging for the fences, raking your presentation through the water, hoping it lands somewhere in the fish. You don't care where, you reel them in upside down and backwards, and you'll retain that fish. In some of your fisheries, it's okay to do that. The game department doesn't care if you're removing hatchery fish from the system. They look at that and say, well, the hatchery fish have to come out. We're not going to cite you. Excuse me. In other areas, the game wardens will say, no, you are illegally retaining fish because of where it's hooked, not forward of the gill plate, and you can get cited. So know your fisheries, truly know and understand how you are fishing. If you go out a couple months out of the year and that's your program and you drift fish, quasi-floss to get your fish, okay, more power to you. But I just like to always point out, when we're talking specific drift fishing, flossing with 6, 8, 10, 15-foot leaders, believe it or not, is not drift fishing, okay? Just so we're clear. Now, kind of what generated out of drift fishing years ago, simply by taking a drift fishing rig and adding a bobber, adding a float, is bobber dogging. Okay, and it's been around for quite some time. We were bobber dogging back in, say, 2005, so about 15 years we've been bobber dogging. It looked a little different back in the day, but we did it. We used to use just regular floats. We used to use slinky lead or little pieces of lead or lead in surgical tubing, beads of lead, whatever. A lot of that would get hung up in the past. And so as things evolve, as things get a little more dialed in, today's rigging for bobber dogging are floats that are designed for bobber dogging of various sizes. They have different weights that are appropriate for them based on size. We're using rubber bobber stops on our monofilament with a bead on top of these floats. And a lot of these floats that have been designed today are very durable and they last a long time because they're grommeted at the top, so they don't break or crack. They're not brittle. They don't come apart. They hold up very well. Now, again, the reason these floats are cut off square and not tapered as our vertical floats that are going up and down the water column is because these floats are lying down, okay? The river current, if my river is flowing from my left to my right, this is to be lying down as the weight is dragging behind it, down obviously on the bottom, and the river current on the surface is pushing against the float. They work in unison to find that travel lane where the fish want to go. It works really good for steelhead, and a lot of folks are bobber dogging for steelhead. It works really good out of drift boats and pontoons and sleds because you're covering ground, and the inconsistencies or the constant change in your bottom contour is ideal for utilizing bobber dogging to cover ground and to find fish. It's kind of like your troll fisheries. You're searching for fish. You're trolling for tuna until you get on a bait stop. You're looking for fish. When you're covering ground bobber dogging, floating down the river, if you're fishing vertical and it's pinned at 4 feet the whole time, and again, you go over holes that are of various depths, constantly going up and down, you're going to maintain that lateral line of depth, and you're going to go over the tops of many fish that are down deeper in the pockets. If you are rigged for bobber dogging and your stopper is 8 to 10 feet up your line, the beauty of it, once I get this untangled, the beauty of it is it's auto-adjusting for the contour of the bottom, right? So this is not how I want to see my float when I'm bobber dogging. That means that my stopper is not set deep enough and I have maxed out, and so my weight is suspended off the bottom. If I'm doing it right, my weight is dragging on the bottom. My float is pointing downriver at a slight angle, typically 45 or so, or sometimes lying flat depending on the speed of the current. And again, the current is pushing the float, the weight is dragging. I use the stick leads so they don't get hung up. And I'm purposefully dragging that weight, which allows my presentation of bait or eggs or whatever to be within a couple feet of the bottom, depending on the length of my leader. And it's always fishing. If the bottom goes a little deeper, then this simply pendulums up, okay? Because this distance doesn't change wherever I set my stopper. Let's say this is 10 feet. As this is dragging and it goes deeper, if it's 8 feet, my bobber and line angle is probably about there. If it's 4 feet deep, then it's going to lay out more laterally. Still going to do the same thing. I just have more line lying laterally in the water column than I do vertical, okay? But it always travels through the water column, making or keeping contact with the bottom and the float pushing on the top of the water column. So it works great to find fish. You can stand in one spot and utilize this like you do drift fishing, albeit I refer to it as float drifting because I am now drift fishing, covering an area with a float. The other thing it allows me to do is when I'm drift fishing and I come through and my line is stopped, it's going to get to that point, it's going to pendulum in. It's actually going to just swing me into the shoreline. With this float setup, bobber dogging or float drifting, I can release line out, whether it's with a level line or a spinning reel, and I can allow more line at the float, which will continue to extend my drift downriver. And I can cover a great amount of water utilizing a bobber dogging setup by starting out fishing inside to out. So I'll do a drift, I'll throw out a few more feet further, a few more feet further, a few more feet further. I'll come through that multiple times. I'll extend my drift and let it go on down to see if there's anything down there. I'll reel up and walk down and I'll start covering that ground again. So it enables you to cover ground below you much further than on the swing with a drift fishing setup. It enables you to fish out in front of the drift boat in certain conditions, especially in low clear water. It allows you to have your presentation out in front of you before you get the boat down there and scare the fish out of the way. So it's really nice in that regard. You can fish water before you get to it. It has a lot of advantages. The other thing is it works as a great strike indicator if you're fairly new to fishing, haven't really picked up the knack for drift fishing. The vertical presentation works, but not all the time for you because of the adjustability. It can be complicated at times because you move around a lot and you just aren't familiar with all the depths of the holes. So this will basically teach you how to judge depth of river. It'll help you cover water, and it will help you extend your drift and allow you to fish out in front. All those things I mentioned. And it does work fantastic for salmon. Coho and Chinook, chum, all of them can be caught bobber dogging, bait, corkies and yarn with scent, something of that nature, sand shrimp, coon shrimp, all those things can be bobber dogged. If you can drift fish it, you can bobber dog or float drift with that presentation. And I guarantee it works for salmon. Back in the day when I was guiding in the fall and winter, especially in the fall for salmon and coho, I exclusively ran my clients on bobber dogging setups because I could move the boat in and out. They were able to keep their presentation in the travel lane and in the strike zone of where the fish were at all the time. And we had far more hookups than trying to fish every piece of water vertically because it was self-adjusting. And I didn't have to constantly tell them to either deepen or make their floats shallower depending on the water we're going through. So hopefully that clears it up. A little bit of difference between vertical, drift fishing, flossing, and of course, one of my favorite ways to go after it, bobber dogging. All right, we're gonna jump out for a quick break. About a minute or so, stick with us. We'll be back in the studio, finish out the show with Dave Calhoun right here, Fish Out Northwest. Defines boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Defines boats come standard with large fish boxes that are fully insulated so that you can ice your fish properly all day. Defines boats feature a 21 to 22 degree dead rise at the transom and a large reverse chine for incredible handling and stability offshore. Defines boats are foam flotation filled and unsinkable for the ultimate in safety while fishing offshore. Defines boats feature fuel efficient hull designs with large fuel tank capacity so that you can have maximum fuel range for making long offshore runs completely safe and affordable. All Defines boats come standard with self-bailing decks for improved safety while at sea. Defines Boat offers all our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. Defines boats for all your boating needs, and let us help you get out on the water. Hey, welcome back in studio to Winning England, Dave Calhoun. Final installment, final segment this evening.
Goes by so fast.
Wrapping this thing up.
Yeah.
An hour and a half shows. I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah.
Most of the folks tuning in are as well. Final guest of the evening, definitely no stranger. I think, Tom, you hold the record for being in studio more than any other guest, first of all. And we had you on the phone last week, but we had a good line of questions that followed our conversation relative to early archery season, early blacktail hunting, and as it relates to these bucks, and as we are transitioning into September now and start kind of moving towards that rut, we had a good number of questions come up. So I asked you to come back in for part 2 of our early season, but also as we transition to our more well-known portion of hunting as we get into mid-October and we get that modern rifle opener. So Tom Ryle, everybody, Pacific Northwest bow hunting, Blacktail part 2 is what we're calling this, Dave. And so we kind of left it last week. You covered a lot of ground, Tom, and got a lot of good information out there. Let's kind of dial it down now and focus more so as we get into this October opportunity, mid-October when we open up for modern rifle. We got a couple week window there to chase these buggers, and then we'll go ahead and just transition that into that latter part of opportunity as how they're behaving with this rut. I know you're very skookum on kind of what they're doing, what they're telling us in their actions and behavior as we compare August and September, and then ultimately get into October and November. So what do you got for us in the realm of finishing up September, and then as we jump into October here?
All right. Well, I know we got a lot to try to pack in here, so I'll try to move quick, and hopefully this generates some questions we can follow up. But so here's one thing to remember is the bucks start losing their velvet toward the end of August, early September, depending on the area you are, and there's always little variances there. But really, when that velvet comes off, these deer kind of start their rut mentality, I guess. And they're going to start laying down more rubs going all the way into November. And so you'll start seeing more and more fresh rubs in early October into mid-October. And really, hunting rub sign in the October season is a good strategy in general, because these bucks are laying down their scent. They're putting out a lot of visual signs of their presence, and they're leaving scent on those rubs, and they're telling other bucks and leaving scent that tells other bucks their maturity level, their dominance, all of those sorts of things. They're not visual cues, they're scent cues. And, there's a lot to be talked about with scent strategy, but just know that as you're starting to see a lot of those rubs, those are areas that bucks are trying to establish their territory. They become more and more intolerant of each other as you get into mid-October. And, we're seeing a lot of weather changes too. And as the days start to cool off, the nights cool down, the photo period is shorter, all these hormonal changes start taking place, and these deer start to become very interested in breeding and reproducing. And so, the way I look at it, I'm going to jump ahead to November just to get to the punchline. I believe in Western Washington and even Western Oregon, where I've spent a lot of time hunting, the peak of the rut, or the peak of the breeding period, is around the 12th of November in my experience. Mm-hmm. That's going to vary. But one thing to keep in mind is that peak breeding phase, that's when bucks are locked down with does. It's really, in my experience, not a time where you're going to see a lot of bucks moving. Where you're going to see a lot of bucks moving is the 2 weeks prior to that. So that's what puts us right back into Halloween time frame.
Yeah.
So that seeking phase in the pre-rut at the end of October, in my opinion, is the best time to intercept a buck any time of the day, anywhere. And what I would focus on is on your morning hunt. I would get between two doe bedding areas if you can on the downwind side. Evening hunts, I would be focusing on where does tend to feed, because what bucks are doing is seeking out does, and they're going to scent check as many does as they can. They're going to scent check trails, bedding areas, and physical deer standing in fields and whatnot. So you got a couple does in a clear cut, you can bet there will be a buck on the downwind side of those deer checking them out. And if they're not ready, that buck will keep moving. But you really want to focus on all day hunting at the end of October, if you can, because you've got shorter days at that time of year as well. And really just keying in on where those does are.
Well, I've got a question for you. So right now, with the way the fires and the smoke have gone, I've looked at my trail cameras, and I'm an archery deer hunter, and I've seen more deer in the last 4 or 5 days. Now that we've had that wind blowing all that smoke in, they're on the move, and they're going places they don't normally do. It puts these animals in a completely different mindset. And earlier in the day, when I would usually see them at dusk or an hour before, I'm seeing them like 2-3 p.m. out in the middle of the field, just standing there like they're trying to get away from the smoke, not knowing the fire is 500 miles away. But it really puts these animals on a completely different level.
Well, and that's a really great point. And I'm not a biologist, but their sense of smell is so acute that we may not smell a strong smell of smoke, but they certainly do. Yeah. And they're going to react to that. I can tell you that these wildfires are putting a lot of animals at stress. We're losing a lot of animals as a result, and I don't really know exactly how that's going to affect local populations of deer and deer movement. That makes me want to get out and check my cameras here this weekend, because that's a really good point. We're dealing with something we haven't dealt with on a regular basis. We had some smoke a couple of summers ago, but until we get rains and move all this out of the way, these deer might be a bit unpredictable right now.
What for the novice, Tom? If they're out looking, like you had mentioned, try to find a couple of those bedding areas that those deer will be forced to migrate back and forth, looking for those does, looking for those hot toes that eventually they're going to lock down on one or so. What are they looking for? What type of foliage should they be looking in and around, looking for those deer bedding areas?
Yeah, so does are kind of creatures of habit. They're resident. So when you see a doe, like I said last week, if you see that doe in June, you're going to see that doe in July, August, into September and October. So they like mixed forest habitat. They like those transitions between open patches of grass and Scotch broom, where you might have more of a bigger opening, or salmonberry or blackberries. Anywhere there's like an open feed area, but they love mixed timber of, hemlock, Doug fir, alder, maple. They love the edges of clear cuts in big timber. Those are all areas that provide food and then immediate escape cover. Mm-hmm. And, if you add water into that mix, you've got kind of the trifecta. And naturally in Western Washington, we've got that everywhere. So, a lot of people have a hard time figuring out where to start. And I think the best way to start is to put boots on the ground, find some fresh trails, find deer feeding in cuts, and, just start looking at that topography. We've got a lot of tools at our disposal these days with Onyx Maps and Google Earth and different things. You can start doing a lot of intel on a single doe sighting and maybe figure out where she's bedding down, or look at the prevailing wind pattern in there, and be back in there at a time of day where that wind's going to be predictable. And for a bow hunter, especially a new bow hunter or somebody out there in late September, taking a doe is certainly respectable with archery equipment. Blacktails are tough to get, and if you're looking for meat, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are coming up on about 6 weeks or so. We have a couple 2.5 weeks left in September. We'll have 4 weeks in October there. Not that we're hunting all of it, but for folks to get out, if they haven't really done a whole lot, they still have time to get out, spend the next few weeks kind of pulling it all together, don't they? Get some trail cams out, start looking and spotting, finding these critters where they're at, try to develop their patterns and see where they're going, what they're doing throughout the day or later in the day, early morning, and put a plan together so they can be on top of their game especially that last week of October that you're speaking of. One of my favorite times to be in the woods, walking around and trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to encounter one of them guys. So I do like that last couple days of October hunt. I always just feel like there's a great opportunity there.
Yeah, and as a bow hunter, I try to get a multi-season tag every year just so I can have those rifle dates, because for me, I would rather hunt the last week of October probably than any other week of the season, the entire rest of the year. Right. That being said, I've had some phenomenal luck calling in deer in mid-December during that second estrus period, which we can get into that later in the year. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, if you're a rifle hunter and you're trying to key in on how to fill that buck tag, I would be in a spot where you can hunt most of the day, keep track of the wind, and just hunt on faith that bucks are going to be trolling for deer, for does. And the more does about, and the more beds that about, and those trail networks, and if you play the wind and hunt downwind, you're going to see buck traffic trolling for those deer.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So always running out of time far too early. One thing I want to make mention of is, as you and I were speaking a couple times here the last few weeks, don't dismiss that late modern rifle opportunity. That 4-day window we get on the west side for blacktail, as you said, there are a lot of deer that hit the dirt in that 4-day window. So if we're not successful in our initial modern rifle opportunity, we definitely can key in on that 4-day window, which can be very productive. So as we get further along in the season and as we draw close to that end of that our regular season, we're definitely going to have you back on the phone and/or who knows, by then maybe back in studio to really cover in detail some of the things we can do to salvage our season if we weren't successful going into that 4-day opportunity.
Yeah, and I really want to stress the importance of calling deer. Blacktails are very susceptible to calling, and that 4-day late season is magic. I've called in a lot of bucks in those 4 days, and it can be a game changer. Just it turns a walk in the woods into a situation where you're creating a shot opportunity in a matter of minutes. So we'll talk more about that at another time, but it's time to get prepared, and it's time to get out there and do your homework. Even if you're out elk hunting and you see deer, keep track of that stuff, because it all adds up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, always a pleasure, my friend. Can't thank you enough for taking the time. And shortly, we'll start seeing some of your information, hopefully, as we launch our webpage, as you have agreed to jump on board as one of our big game hunting contributors. I'm really looking forward to the information you're going to be pumping out. So fantastic. Great to have you on again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Yes, what happens when you hit the wrong button?
Yeah. Great info.
Huh?
Great info.
Always.
Yeah.
Everybody could have heard.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, hunting season, it's here. I mean,
oh man.
But there again, smoke is going to be the issue for people right now. And here's what I know. So I go out and look at this stuff almost every other day. I live on a big property. I have fields, and when you start seeing big bucks out at 2-3 p.m. in the middle of a field, not even trying to hide, you're like, things are getting screwy, right?
Things are getting a little squirrely out there.
So sometimes doing the opposite of what you think may be a key to success. Just like when this all calms down, then those animals will get back in their travel lanes and do what they're supposed to.
As I
do.
like to say back in the day, when the smoke settles.
Yeah.
Something like that. Hey, a couple of questions on your fishing rods here, mister.
Yeah.
First of all, can persons get a hold of you and perhaps buy just blanks from you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the few companies that actually promotes guys for rod building.
Yep.
I'm one of the few companies where you can actually buy parts.
Sure.
Now the warning is, you got to buy a blank for me to buy the parts, because I'm not going to go through and pick out pieces of cork and guides for guys that want to. Well, I've got a 30-year-old rod. Well, it's going to stay there. Yeah. But for the people that are willing to buy my blanks, I have components. I can basically give them everything they need to build a fishing rod.
Perfect.
I've actually done like in shop classes, showing people, helping them do that stuff. So yes, blanks are available. You can go on the NW Rods page. Every rod on there is available in a blank. And if you really like blanks and you're a rod builder, I've got 10,000 blanks, and that's not a joke. Yeah. I have so much inventory. I would love to find. And if you're good at it, you might find yourself a job. So hey, I am growing like that. It's been that way. So yeah. Also, that particular rod is a one-piece, 8-foot. Yes. 8-foot or 8.2 or 8-foot? It's 8-foot, one piece. That's the best design that I can make. Yeah. People go, oh, I want a 9-foot 2-piece, or I wanted this or that. This is the universal rod. 8-foot one piece. Downriggers, flat line. Do you have a general line rate, weighting rate on that? Yeah, it's 4 to 8. It's 4 to 8, but here's the deal. Yeah. Everybody overfishes their rods. Yeah, we've got 10 to 30 pound rated salmon rods, and we're using 65 pound braid. What? I know, it's so crazy, right? And with braid, there's no give. So I mean, it's set up to do everything that you're going to do now. Trolling lake trout, trolling walleye, you can do multiple species with it. So it's universal for everything, and it just makes smaller fish seem fun. Now, you get a big lake trout on this, which I have done, and it's like pulling up a barn door. It really, nothing really fun about it. Nope. I'm not one of those guys that likes to bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, if you're using a rod like that too over there at Brewster and you're fishing for saga and you get into a 10-pound Chinook, 15-pound Chinook, you got a bit of a fight. Funny you say that, because I had a guy do it. He posted it online, and I was like, great, but that's not what they're supposed to do. Because now people will be like, oh, challenge accepted. And they'll take these out and try and do that, and that's really not what they're designed for. Look, the biggest thing you want to do on those brown Chinook is get your Dodger and gear back. That's the fight. It's like, used to fish with Herzog. He's like, I want my Dodger back, right? Yeah. You ain't taking it. Well, and that's yelling at sea lions, too, because they got your favorite flasher or their favorite spinner. Taking it all. Taking it all. $30 trip, right? Exactly. $30 grab. So, all right, great questions. If you have more of those about specific rods or whatever, you can contact Dave on his Facebook page. Go to NW Rods or nwrods.com. He's available on Facebook at Dave Calhoun, or his, again, NW Rods, or even Fishing the NW. Fishing the NW, yeah. Also, one last thing. I want to throw this out here, because we were talking about duck hunting, and we're talking about my dog. So my dog Tank is a duck hunting machine. He is so good. He's an amazing dog, and I want to try and breed him more. We had 2 litters last year, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
The puppies turned out so great, and I'm throwing it out there. If someone has an AKC lab, they want a dog that's not only hip and elbow certified, but health checked and is a junior hunt champion. I mean, he's as dialed in as you can be on a hunting dog. And so I want to try and get it out there for people that want to breed him and have some good hunting
Another tank litter
pups.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they can contact me through the same thing, through my Northwest Rods or whatever, and we'll put them together. I've got references and stuff, but I'd love to have more puppies. We kept one from his first litter, and his name is Rip, and he is the best dog. And,
awesome.
And all my hunting buddies and fishing buddies have dogs from that, and it's fun to go out and see all my pups out there. So
well, I'm sure we'll spend some time in the blind and on the water again, and we'll get to watch the dogs work. Always look forward to that. So all right, that's going to do it for us. Ran a little bit over as we normally do, and that's the beauty of deciding when we're going to stop, because
I do what I want.
We can do what we want. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Good turnout tonight. Hopefully we answered a lot of questions and didn't create too much confusion. Hey, join us throughout the week at Fish Out Northwest. On our Facebook page, a lot of information gets posted up there. I'm still trying to navigate the whole different look now. A couple weeks ago, Facebook did a carte blanche change on everything again, but the information's there, and we try to stay abreast of all the stories going on throughout the Pacific Northwest and beyond. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, hit us up on Messenger. Post your pictures of success. A lot of hunting going on right now. Lots of fishing opportunity, especially through this weekend. Let's see those fish pictures in the smoke. Let's see those smoked fish pictures.
Smoked salmon. Yep. I
might even throw up a smoked fish competition on the Facebook page. I got some prizes to give away. Just haven't gotten to. Matter of fact, I got a Lamoglass fishing rod I got to give away, a downrigger rod, and we have some spin fish by YBC. So be looking for this week. I'm going to put out a smoked fish photo contest. I think it's only applicable to this time of year that we should probably do something like that. So, all right, keep it safe out there. Don't do anything crazy. If you see something that looks a little out of sorts, call 911 or somebody that needs to know.
Or carry a fire extinguisher with you when you're in the woods.
Yes. And keep it safe. We'll see you all next week right here at 6 p.m.